physiology. Usually, the number of questions that arise from this chapter is usually only one. The last year, last year, or before that year also, both in CET as well as NEET, there is only one question from this chapter. Like that of a morphology, it's a purely memory-based chapter. The more you study, the more you remember. And in this chapter, you need to concentrate on hydroponics. What is hydroponics? What are the plants that are grown through hydroponics? And what are essential elements? The characteristic features of essential elements. Classification of these essential elements into macro as well as micronutrients. Right? And examples for macronutrients, examples of micronutrients you need to remember. The type of macronutrients and the micronutrients you need to remember. The physiological role that is played by each of the element you need to remember. Whether it's a macronutrient or micronutrient, in what form they are absorbed, which part of the plant body they are majorly used, and also the physiological function that they play in the plant body you need to remember. Apart from that, nitrogen metabolism, biological nitrogen fixation, how exactly it takes place, and nitrogen cycle you need to study. So today's session, let us discuss some of the important questions in the chapter. Have a look at the first slide. The enzyme nitrogenase is responsible for, and you have four options: nitrification, nitrogen fixation, nitrite reduction, and nitrate oxidation. So nitrogenase is an enzyme that is produced in several bacteria that are capable of fixing atmospheric nitrogen. It includes both eubacteria as well as cyanobacteria. We have discussed earlier many bacteria such as Rhizobium, Azotobacter, Azospirillum are capable of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. Many cyanobacteria such as Nostoc, Anabina are also capable of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. Some of them in a free living state, some of them in association with the roots of the higher plants. Right? So nitrogenase is an enzyme that is produced by these bacteria that is involved in nitrogen fixation. Is an oxygen sensitive enzyme, that is, enzyme becomes inactive in presence of oxygen, and it is basically involved in the process of atmospheric nitrogen fixation. As in the atmosphere, nitrogen is present in the gaseous form, around 78% of atmospheric nitrogen. So 78% of atmosphere is nitrogen. It is present in the gaseous form. No living organism or no plants are capable of taking up this gaseous form of nitrogen. It needs to be converted into some other form, that is nitrate or nitrite. So which is basically carried out by certain bacteria only, not all bacteria. And these bacteria will be producing nitrogenase enzyme that is involved in the nitrogen fixation. So option B is the right answer. Nitrifying bacteria. Then again, if you read the nitrogen cycle, there you can see three major processes taking place in the nitrogen cycle: nitrogen fixation, nitrification, ammonification, and at the end denitrification. There are four major processes taking place, that is nitrogen fixation, nitrification, ammonification, denitrification. So nitrifying bacteria are a group of bacteria that are capable of oxidizing ammonia into nitrate. Nitrate is readily taken up by the plant body. So these nitrifying bacteria, we have examples such as Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus, Nitrosomonas bacteria are chemoautotrophs. That is, they can synthesize their own food by trapping the energy that is released during the oxidation process. Clear? So, the question is nitrifying bacteria. Nitrifying bacteria are capable of they oxidize ammonia to nitrate. Look at the word nitrate. It is not nitrite. Nitrite, though it is formed in the beginning, it will later get converted into nitrate. So, what exactly is the function done by the nitrifying bacteria? They convert ammonia into nitrate. Plants growing near the test sites, nuclear test sites, take up and accumulate which of the following elements? Say we have option gold, selenium, strontium and all of these. Of course, plants are capable of accumulating, taking up and accumulating all these elements, though they are not useful to them. Right? Many plants, if any mineral nutrient is available in the soil, they will take up. Whether it is useful or not, that is secondary. But the question is specifically the plants that grow near the nucleosides. The plant that grow near the nucleosides take up and accumulate strontium. Doesn't have any role to play in the plants because it is available in the soil. The region where the nuclear test sites are there the strontium will be available in the soil. So the plants take up that strontium and accumulate in them. Name the minerals responsible for maintaining cation-anion balance in the plant cells. So cation-anion balance will be mainly maintained by chlorine and potassium ions. See, option 1 is wrong because iron or Fe3 plus is not involved in maintaining the cation-anion balance. This is basically component of cytochromes and also is required for the synthesis of chlorophyll pigment. So, option first is wrong. The calcium and magnesium are also wrong answer because they are basically present in the cell wall as calcium pectate and magnesium pectate. The last one is also wrong answer because it has magnesium in it. So, the chlorine and potassium are the right answer that maintain anion-cation balance in the cell. Which of the following are considered as the role of iron in the plants? And look at the statements. The iron is an important constituent of cytochrome. Yes, iron cytochromes are the proteins that has heme. Heme as cofactor. They are the proteins that have heme as a cofactor. Of course, heme will always have iron in it, right? These cytochromes are involved in electron transport chain, especially during the respiration process. They are involved in the electron transport chain and they act as the electron carriers, where iron reversibly get oxidized from Fe2 plus to Fe3 plus, right? So, the first statement is true. Is an activator of catalase enzyme. Yes, this statement is also true. Catalase enzyme in presence of iron breaks down hydrogen peroxide H2O2 into two molecules of water plus with the release of oxygen. Accumulation of catalase is toxic to any cells. Catalase is produced in the peroxisomes during the photorespiration process, and accumulation of catalase is toxic to the cells. The plant somehow has to overcome the ill effect or the bad effect of the catalase, hydrogen peroxide. So it produces catalase enzyme. I'll come again. Hydrogen peroxide is produced during the photorespiration in the plant cells. Which is the site of production? The peroxisomes are the site of production of hydrogen peroxide. The same peroxisomes also produce catalase enzyme. And accumulation of hydrogen peroxide is toxic to the cells. So the catalase enzyme is produced. Catalase enzyme breaks down hydrogen peroxide into water with the release of oxygen. So for its functioning, the catalase enzyme always requires the presence of iron. So this is also true statement. Essential for chlorophyll synthesis. Yes, along with the magnesium, iron is also essential for the synthesis of chlorophyll. So all the statements are true. So option D, all of these is the right answer. The next slide. Essential elements perform many functions which include permeability of the membrane, maintenance of osmotic concentration of cell sat, major constituents of macromolecules and coenzymes. They also act as the buffering agents, or they have a buffering action. So essential elements for the plants are those without which the plant cannot complete its growth and reproduction. Or in other words, the plant cannot complete its life cycle. Right? And also, the requirement of those elements which are considered as essential will not be replaced by any other elements. Then, in the absence of these essential elements, the plant shows certain deficiency symptoms which disappear only when the element is supplied. All those elements are considered as essential elements. There are around 17 essential elements for the plant growth, and which are divided into macronutrients and micronutrients. So these essential elements have different roles to play in the plant body. Of course, they maintain the permeability of the cell membrane. Say for example, calcium is necessary for the normal functioning of the cell membrane. So, maintain osmotic concentration of the cell sap. So many inorganic nutrients that are present in the vacuole, they maintain the osmotic concentration. Major constituents of macromolecules and coenzymes. Say macromolecule, any of the macromolecules that are present in your body. It could be the composition of the plasma membrane, composition of the cell wall, or the type of proteins present in the cell, or the nucleic acids. In all those, say carbon, oxygen, hydrogen are most commonly present. Apart from that, nitrogen is also present, phosphorus is also present. So that is also true statement. And they act as a buffering action, or they carry out the buffering action. Buffering is maintaining the pH of a cell or a system. So many weak acids or weak bases can be used as a buffering agent. So this is also true. So the option C, all of these is a right answer. Which of the following metals causes harmful effect? Say option 1 is lead, 2 is cobalt, 3 is uranium, 4 is all of these, right? And if you look at the metals given, none of these are essential for the growth of the plant body. None of these are essential for the completion of life cycle of a plant. And all of them are heavy metals. And all the heavy metals are toxic to any cell, right? So, which of the following metal causes harmful effect? These are all heavy metals. Accumulation of these will be toxic to the plant cells. So, all of these is the answer. Nitrogen is mainly absorbed in the form of, right? The word mainly you need to concentrate, right? The plants are capable of taking up nitrogen either in the form of nitrate, nitrite or ammonia. But the question is mainly absorbed in the form of, right? They have not asked in a simple sentence, right? Nitrogen can be absorbed. If the options were 3 and all of this, you would have gone with all of these. So plants are capable of absorbing nitrogen the nitrogen is mainly absorbed in the form of nitrate. Option A is the right answer. Which of the following is true regarding manganese toxicity in the plants? So, toxicity, mineral nutrient toxicity in plants is usually caused by micronutrients. See, micronutrients are required in the plant body in a very less concentration, less than 10 millimoles per kg of the dry weight. And if micronutrient is provided to the plant in a higher concentration, it becomes toxic. Any micronutrient and a higher concentration become toxic to the plants. So, plants show certain toxicity symptoms. And these statements are regarding the toxicity of manganese. The first one, induction of deficiency of iron and magnesium and calcium. Right? The excess amount of manganese that is available to the plant, it interferes with the uptake of iron and magnesium. It also interferes with the translocation of calcium. So calcium will not be translocated to the plants properly. And as I mentioned, it interferes with the uptake of iron as well as magnesium also. So the statement 1 is true. Appearance of brown spots surrounded by chlorotic veins. Yes, that is again one more the symptom, nitrogen toxicity symptom, which is usually misunderstood with the deficiency of iron and magnesium. So what are chlorotic veins? Chlorosis is loss of chlorophyll pigment and yellowing of the leaf. So you will have veins like this. In between the veins, the yellow color spots develop. Yellow spots develop in between the veins, and that is called as the chlorotic veins. Right? That is also a true statement. Inhibition of calcium ion translocation to the shoot apex. Yes, of course. As I mentioned, the manganese, higher concentration of manganese interferes with the translocation of the calcium. So this is also a true statement. So which option you go with? Option D is the right answer. Sulfur is found as a constituent in which of the amino acids? There are 20 amino acids that are present in a normal functioning cells. 2 of the amino acids, that is cysteine and methionine, have sulfur in them. So option C, that is both A and B, are the right answer. Sulfur is a constituent that is found in both cysteine as well as methionine. Hydroponics has been successfully employed as a technique for which of the following vegetables? Hydroponics, which is also called a soilless culture, is also called soilless culture, was initially developed by a botanist called Julius von Sachs. Developed by a botanist called Julius von Sachs. And here the plants are grown in a soilless, mineral nutrient rich solution. So instead of growing plants in the soil, we prepare a mineral nutrient rich solution, and the composition of the mineral nutrient solution depends on the type of the plant we are growing. Depending on the requirement, we dissolve all the essential mineral nutrients in the water, and the sterility is maintained so that no infection or no pathogenic organisms that are pathogen for the plant grow there, and the plants will be grown in that culture or the nutrient rich medium or nutrient rich water. So hence it is also called soilless culture, and it is successfully employed in growing seedless cucumber, tomato and lettuce. Again a textbook statement. So the option is all of these. For the uptake of ions in of minerals, the pathway followed is, except for carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, the major resource for the mineral nutrients for the plants is the soil. Soil provides majority of the mineral nutrients that are necessary or essential for the growth and reproduction of the plants. So the uptake of ions in the plants takes place in the two phases, that is first phase and the second phase. And if you consider this as a plant cell, we have cell wall like this, right? Cell wall. Imagine it as a root cell. So this is plasma membrane and inside we have cytoplasm. So in the first phase, the mineral nutrients are taken through the cell wall into the intracellular space or into the space between the plasma membrane and the cell wall. So in the first phase of the uptake of ions, the plants follow apoplastic pathway that we have discussed yesterday. The mineral nutrients move into the cell wall, into the space between the cell wall and the plasma membrane through specific ion channels. They move through the specific ion channels. It is a facilitated diffusion, hence it is a passive transport. So in the first phase of uptake of ions, the plants follow apoplastic pathway where ions will be taken up into the space between the cell wall and the plasma membrane. It is a passive transport. Whereas in the second phase, the ions have to cross the plasma membrane barrier and should enter into the cytoplasm. So the second phase of uptake is always simplest and it is an active transport. Second phase of uptake is always follows a simplest pathway as the ions have to cross the plasma membrane barrier. It is always active uptake. So the passive uptake is the first phase, the active uptake is the second phase of ions into the plant cells. Phosphorus is absorbed by the plants. As I mentioned, you need to remember all the different elements in what form they are absorbed. Phosphorus basically is absorbed in the form of orthophosphate ions. That is, the first is dihydrogen phosphate ions, H2PO4 minus, and also they are absorbed in the form of HPO4 2 minus. That is hydrogen phosphate ions, dihydrogen phosphate ions and hydrogen phosphate ions. So they are basically absorbed in the form of H2PO4 minus and HPO4 2 minus. That is option C, 1 and 3 are the right answer. Insectivorous plants eat the insects. This I have discussed in the morphology of flowering plants chapter also. There are many insectivorous plants such as Nepenthes, Utricularia, Venus flytrap. All these are insectivorous plants. They trap and digest the insect to fulfill their requirement of nitrogen. So option B, nitrogen is the right answer. Molybdenum is an essential constituent of, again, memory based question. Chlorophyll, magnesium and iron are essential. Growth regulators, so molybdenum is not essential there. Respiratory chain, again iron is essential. So molybdenum is an essential component of nitrogenase enzyme. So option 1, nitrogenase is the right answer. Select the correct statement. Legumes are incapable of fixing nitrogen. This is a wrong statement because we grow leguminous plants to increase the nitrogen concentration of the soil. Legumes fix nitrogen through bacteria living in the fruits Again, wrong statement. Legumes fix the nitrogen, of course, but the bacteria doesn't live in the fruits. Legume fix the nitrogen only by bacteria present in the root nodules. Yes, the best example is Rhizobium. Rhizobium has a symbiotic association with the root nodules of the leguminous plants. Whereas you have non-leguminous plants such as the Ulmus alcatharina, where the bacteria is present in the root but they are non-leguminous. A bacteria called Frankia is present. Or you have a plant called Sesbania, where you have stem nodules. A plant called Sesbania, the stem nodules are formed by a bacteria called Aerorhizobium collinodens. Or you have leaf nodules in plant called Ardisia, where Xanthomonas bacteria forms a leaf nodule. There is no way the fruit nodules are formed except for stem nodule that is seen in Sesbania, a leaf nodule which is seen in Ardisia plant. Majority of the leguminous plants have symbiotic association of Rhizobium in the root nodules, and the nitrogen fixation takes place in the root nodules. So option C is the right answer. Potassium is required by which of the following regions of the plant? Again a textbook statement. That's why I was telling you, you need to read your textbook thoroughly. Potassium basically is required to maintain the anion-cation balance and is also required for the protein synthesis. So in absence of potassium, protein synthesis in the cells will not take place. So now if you look at these options, meristematic tissue, buds, leaves and root tips, all these are actively growing sites where the protein synthesis is required. So potassium is required in all of these regions. Option D is the right answer. Root nodules of legumes. In the root nodules of legumes, leg hemoglobin is important because, right? So if the root nodules of leguminous plants are observed carefully, they are usually pink in color. The root nodules are usually pink in color due to presence of a chromogenic substance, that is colorful substance, which is called leg hemoglobin. Right? It is similar to hemoglobin. Because it is present in the leguminous plants, it is called leg hemoglobin. Here, the heme part of leg hemoglobin is produced by bacteria, and globin part of the leg hemoglobin is produced by plant. That is why they have a symbiotic association. Why this leg hemoglobin is essential? Leg hemoglobin can actively bind to the oxygen. It picks up the oxygen or it binds to the oxygen. It acts as an oxygen scavenger. Why removal of oxygen is required? As I mentioned earlier, the nitrogenase enzyme which is involved in the nitrogen fixation is sensitive to oxygen. In presence of oxygen, nitrogenase becomes inactive. So, to keep the nitrogenase enzyme active, the oxygen at the site of nitrogen fixation should be removed or should be reduced to very low concentration. And that function is carried out by leg hemoglobin. So, leg hemoglobin acts as an oxygen scavenger, one who pick up. Right? It acts as an oxygen scavenger. Which of the following is a bacteria involved in denitrification process? So, denitrification is a process where nitrate or nitrite is converted back into process where nitrate or a nitrite is converted back into nitrogen. Say Nitrococcus, Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter, we discussed earlier, these are nitrifying bacteria. The remaining option is Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas denitrificans is the full name. Pseudomonas denitrificans is a bacteria that perform the function of denitrification, where nitrate or nitrite will be converted back into atmospheric nitrogen. Name the essential element that is considered as the component of energy related chemical compound like chlorophyll. Name the essential element that is considered as a component of energy related chemical compound like chlorophyll. You have 4 different options. Potassium is not an energy related chemical compound. Manganese is also not an energy related chemical compound, but magnesium and phosphorus are. But here the question is about the chlorophyll. So in the chlorophyll, magnesium is present. Magnesium is present in the ring structure of chlorophyll. At the center, magnesium is present. And why chlorophyll is essential? So chlorophyll molecules, they absorb or trap the sunlight. The radiant energy will be converted into chemical energy by these chlorophyll molecules. So it is present in an energy rich compound. So how about phosphorus then? Phosphorus is also present in an energy rich chemical compound. Say the best example is ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is considered as energy currency of the cell. But here, since the question is on the chlorophyll, we go with the option magnesium. Which of the following reactions shows nitrogen fixation? Again, the reaction is given in your textbook. If you see here, the first equation, ammonia is converted into atmospheric nitrogen. It is not nitrogen fixation. Biological nitrogen fixation is a process where atmospheric nitrogen will be converted into form that is utilized by the plants. That is into nitrate or to nitrite. So the second, again here also ammonia is getting converted. Biological nitrogen fixation is related with the atmospheric nitrogen. Third equation, if you see, atmospheric nitrogen using 8 electrons, 8 proteins, 16 ATPs, and in presence of nitrogenase enzyme gets converted into 2 molecules of ammonia with the release of H2, and 16 ATPs are converted into 16 ADP and 16 inorganic phosphates. Is highly energy consuming process, right? Biological nitrogen fixation is highly energy consuming process that takes place in presence of nitrogenase enzyme. So the correct reaction is C. Farmers in a particular region were concentrated that premature yellowing of the leaves of pulse crop might cause a decrease in the yield. Premature yellowing means even before the leaves mature, even before the fruits and flowers and fruits are formed, the leaves started becoming yellow. If the leaves started becoming yellow, that means the chlorophyll content is reduced, isn't it? And if the leaves become yellow, the rate of photosynthesis decreases. If the rate of photosynthesis decreases, the crop yield also decreases. Whether it is in the form of a fruit or it is in the form of a seed, the crop yield also decreases. Which treatment could be most beneficial to obtain maximum seed yield? Now look at the option. Frequent irrigation of a crop. Yellowing of the leaf is not a symptom of dehydration or the scarcity of water. If enough water is not available, the leaf starts wilting. Here the leaves have started becoming yellow. So option 1 is wrong. Treatment of plants with the cytokinins along with a small dose of nitrogenous fertilizer. Say again, cytokinin is a growth hormone that promotes the growth of the roots. So if you provide cytokinin, if the plant is not showing proper growth, then it may be because of the less protein synthesis or because of the less hormone production. But here the plant is growing well, but only the leaves are becoming yellow. So second is also wrong option. Removal of all yellow leaves and spraying the remaining green leaves with the 2,4,5 trichlorophenoxyacetic acid. Say this is also not option. 2,4,5 trichlorophenoxyacetic acid is an weedicide that is sprayed to remove the growth of unwanted plants. Right? So this is also wrong answer. What is the right answer? Application of iron and magnesium to promote synthesis of chlorophyll. As both iron and magnesium are essential for the formation of the chlorophyll. If the leaves are becoming yellow, that means it is a deficiency of iron as well as magnesium. So we need to apply iron and magnesium to promote the synthesis of chlorophyll. Option D is the right answer. VAM is, say VAM stands for vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. Again, I have discussed this in the biological classification chapter. Mycorrhiza is an association of fungi with the roots of higher plants. And based on whether the fungi is colonizing the outer surface of the root or it enters inside the root, they are classified into ectomycorrhiza and endomycorrhiza. Ectomycorrhiza usually colonizes the surface of the root, whereas endomycorrhiza enters into the root system, where they help the plants to uptake the phosphate. They also help in proper absorption of other mineral nutrients as well as the water. Helps the plants to withstand the drought condition or high salinity condition, or protect the plant from other disease causing organisms. There are many benefits of having a VAM or many benefits of having a mycorrhiza associated with the plants. So vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza is basically endomycorrhiza. It enters into the root system and it is called vesicular arbuscular because inside the root it forms vesicles and arbuscles like structure. Hence the name VAM fungi. Macronutrients like carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are obtained mainly from, say as I mentioned earlier, soil is the major source of all the nutrients, but carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are basically obtained in the form of carbon dioxide or in the form of water. So option C, both A and B are the right answers. Which of the element is required for the germination of pollen grains? Again, a memory based question, right? So boron is the element. So calcium, as I mentioned, it is essential for the formation of spindle fiber as well as it is present in the middle lamella of the cell wall as calcium pectate. So this is not the answer. Chlorine and potassium are also wrong answers. They basically maintain anion-cation balance, and along with that the chlorine is involved or required for the splitting of water during light reaction of the photosynthesis. Along with the manganese, chlorine is also essential for photolysis or splitting of the water during the light reaction. So wrong answer. Potassium again required in the protein synthesis and required for to maintain anion-cation balance. That is also wrong answer. Boron is the element that is required for the germination of the pollen grain. It promotes the formation and elongation of the pollen tube. Hence, boron is the right answer. The area around the plant root is called, the soil that is present around the plant root is called rhizoplane. Rhizo means root Plane means area. Phyllosphere is the area around the shoot system, whereas rhizoplane is the area around the plant root. So rhizoplane is the right answer. Magnesium is an activator of. So many essential elements or the mineral nutrients act as a cofactor for many enzymes to function. In absence of these elements, the enzymes may fail to function. So now you have four different options. Alcohol dehydrogenase. For alcohol dehydrogenase, zinc is essential. So this is wrong answer. Nitrogenase, molybdenum is essential. So this is also wrong answer. Rubinose bisphosphate carboxylase or oxygenase enzyme, that is Rubisco, enzyme that is involved in the carboxylation in many plants. So for the functioning of Rubisco, magnesium is essential. Phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase, that is PEP carboxylase, which is also involved in the carboxylation process in C4 plants. So there also it is involved. So 3 and 4, option D is the right answer. Which of the following elements can be considered as macronutrients? So the essential elements based on the quantity in which they are required by the plants can be classified into macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients usually are required in a concentration of 10 millimole, more than 10 millimole per kg of dry weight, whereas micronutrients are required in the concentration of less than 10 millimoles per kg of dry weight. So out of 17 essential elements, around 9 are the macronutrients, which include carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, potassium, calcium, sulfur, magnesium. Remaining are such as iron, nickel, manganese, chlorine, all zinc, boron are all micronutrients. Now if you see the option, so this was the last year NEET question. Which among the following is micronutrient was the question. Right, if you look here, zinc, boron, nickel, all the three are micronutrients. So option D, phosphorus is the macronutrient, which is the essential component of lipid bilayer, phospholipids, as you all know. It is also component of nucleic acids, that is deoxyribonucleic acid, ribonucleic acids. So phosphate is the essential macronutrient. The process of decay of organic nitrogen of dead plants and animals also. The process of decay of organic nitrogen that is present in the form of nucleic acid or the proteins or the vitamins, all those are organic nitrogen. The process of decay of organic nitrogen of dead plants and animals is called ammonification. Nitrogen fixation is wrong because here the nitrogen is converted into ammonia. Nitrification, this is also wrong because here it is converted into nitrate or nitrite. Ammonia is converted to nitrate or nitrite. Denitrification, the nitrite or nitrate are converted back into nitrogen. So all these three are wrong answer. The process of decay of organic nitrogen of dead plants and animals is known as ammonification. So with this, I am concluding the discussion of this chapter. As I mentioned, you need to read this chapter thoroughly. The textbook based questions will only come, and I have told you what are the important aspects you need to concentrate. Okay, thank you.